Hi, Bhaskar. You can start. We are live. You can start.
Okay. Okay. So, good evening to everyone present. Today, I am glad to invite Mr. Shanoj Chandro, Senior Vice President and Head of Digital Tech and Analytics at Olam Technology and Business Services. He is here with us to talk about revolutionizing agribusiness with innovative digital solutions. Shanoj is a digital leader with strong business and technology acumen across multiple industries, including digital marketing, healthcare, and food-agri business. Shanoj brings about 24 years of experience and started his career with a startup venture. He held multiple tech and product roles in Nedstat and comScore, which is a digital marketing intelligence company in the Netherlands. After 12 years in the Netherlands, Shanoj joined Philips as head of IT for their Healthcare Innovation Center in India, and subsequently became the director of IT Innovation and Emerging Technologies, setting up a new team to deliver innovative digital solutions for global Philips. Shanoj joined Olam in 2020, and his passion is to unlock business value through digitalization by leveraging digital technologies, analytics, and AI. Shanoj also holds an MBA from Amsterdam Business School of University of Amsterdam. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Guy. Can you confirm you can hear me, see me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, thanks a lot for this opportunity to represent my organization, also to present on revolutionizing agribusiness. Before I continue, let me just share my screen, and would be helpful if someone can confirm. Can see my screen, please. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So, yeah, good evening all. Thank you for this opportunity. It's a great pleasure to present, to IIT Madras community. A big thanks to all of you, and definitely also for the everyone who are here, the professors, faculties, and dear students. And I heard that you have once a month or twice a month a similar industry series. So and my story is about agri business, how innovative digital solutions are making a mark in this whole industry. And I'm sure you would have heard different industries on digital transformation, and believe me, this is going to be a little different story, and to see how we as an organization make an impact through digital solutions. So walking you through the organization that I represent, basically, right? So it's Olam. We are a 32-year-old plus company, born in 1989. We are 81,000 employees, headquartered in Singapore. We source from more than 5 million plus farmers globally, and we operate in 60 plus countries globally as well, supporting 17,000 plus customers, global manufacturing centers, and of course R&D centers, more on food and innovation, right? So that has been our space, all the way from cocoa business, number one, number two in cocoa, coffee globally, to grains business, rice and wheat, for example, cotton, another portfolio. So operations all across the globe, mainly in Africa, Asia, and then Latin America, and then of course in the US and Australia as well. And so we are the one of the top suppliers for cocoa, coffee, and many of the food ingredients like spices, edible nuts, and dairy. Same thing in grains, rice, cotton, rubber. So we are the brand behind the brand, right? So and it says that 1 out of 4 chocolates that you eat globally comes out of Olam. So that's the size of what we do. To move on, right? So the story is about agriculture and the trends that we see, right? And I'm sure as millennials, that you are also you can connect to this topic, because as it says, estimated almost 9.6 billion people would be there in planet by 2050, right? And many of those people will live in cities and much farther from the traditional food source of food, which is true, right? Because if you look at India and what happens around, we are seeing the change. And that also means overall food production need to double in relatively short period. And climate change is making it, but putting much more challenges, more demands on how food is grown, which also is very much relevant to us. We can see how the world is changing, the impact that we see. And technology can create a much more productive and efficient and resilient food system for sure, and absolutely sustainable as well. And where many of you are from data analytics as well. Data analytics solution can increase agriculture production and are expected to drive the agriculture technology as well. And in short, of course, digital technologies are transforming agriculture. And when we speak to understand from the surveys as well, many of the millennials and Gen Z are much more, and almost 75% of you are conscious about sustainability and sustainable living, and some of my story also connects to what we do on the ground on sustainability, right? And the chart on the right basically shows 3 billion people more, 3 billion more people to feed by 2050, and of course 50% increase in food demand by 2050. Okay, so it's about, as I said, I'll be explaining about digital agriculture. And for us as Olam, our digital journey started around 6-7 years back. We went into, from a leadership perspective, digital was identified as one of the key enabler right under CEO, and that helped to create a digital team. We had a clear clarity on what it can bring. And we embarked on this journey for 6+ years, and that has really helped us to bring quite a lot of digital platforms and solutions. Some of them I'll be taking you through, and I will say that mainly solutions across. We classify mainly into 3 buckets, right? Basically upstream, which are more onto smart farms, smart plantations, and things like that. To downstream is more about end consumer, right? B2B, e-commerce, and things. And then, midstream is more in between, manufacturing, smart factory, and things like that. So if I want to really, explain, in a nutshell, what we, I would say 3 T's, right? So it's about transformation, it's about transparency, it's about traceability. So we are revolutionizing our farm and factory operations, and really about bringing customer experience, supply chain, and sustainability. So we are transforming in different areas, and so broadly classifying into 3 T's. To move on, if I look at the transformation story, right? So basically, I'm sure some of you would have heard about the smart farming, for example, smart plantations. So we have mobile apps and things running on the ground, especially in places like in Africa, completely working offline. Helping the farm, we had to manage the farms, having a digital attendance. It's about monitoring diseases, for example, reporting it, completely going paperless, right? And then really bringing faster intervention by, building analytics dashboards and things like that. So our farm, supervisors and people who are on the ground are able to really manage the plantations. Same thing if I look at, on this, smarter factory, right? We use IoT-based sensors and to collect data really about edge computing and things like that. Again, improving efficiency and throughput and predictive maintenance, operational efficiency, and things like that, that we are able to handle. If I move on, another great example is about digital warehouse, where we make a complete warehouse, efficient operation through digital means. And if you would have seen big warehouses, in cities like, major cities with a lot of infrastructure available. But if you look at some of the terrains or countries that we operate, very much up country where there is no network, or really where our agents go for procurement, or we set up temporary warehouses for a season, which are very much up country where there is no network. Our agents go to collect commodities or yields from the farmers. They come back to our master warehouse and then start syncing our data, right? So earlier it all used to happen in a paper mode, everything manually, and has been a huge challenge for us. And what these warehouses does is, or a digital warehouse is doing, is basically collecting, really helping the our operations to manage in up country, collecting data, complete warehouse operation, and really digitizing on the ground, right? So when the data is collected, everything is on an app, and then when it goes to the master warehouse, it is completely synced, so that there is no paperwork, nothing. All the data completely goes to our SAP as well. So and it monitors inventory movement in real time. It can have traceability and transparency, really measuring the impact of sustainability of our supply chain as well. Moving on, another very interesting use case on the Olam market, which is basically our sort of an e-commerce platform that we set up for Africa, which is based, for the primary distribution, right? The app works on the ground, where the distributors can place orders. It makes it, order status, historical data, complete analytical reports around it, account statement, and really about bringing better experience and loyalty towards our brand. Again, we are pretty much used to mobile apps and things, but these are all operating in a country like in Africa, where e-commerce is still picking up. We have huge volume of transaction that goes through this platform, and it has been a completely revolutionary and award-winning solution for us in Africa. One more interesting example actually is about it's about Bakewell, and this is an app that we created for bakers. Almost 14,000 plus bakers are using it in Africa, and a step towards creating completely differentiated service and engagement, right? So we provide bakery news and videos and tips. We bring digitized bakery schools, reporting and dashboard, again playing a big role. By the way, the reason for having this baking app was basically because we are number one, number two players in suppliers for grains in some of these countries, right? Some of the areas we have more than 40% market share of grains or flours, that we sell to countries like in Ghana. So that means we need to be very closely connected to the community, and we play a very important role in the food security of the country as well. And that's where similar apps and solutions that we develop from India plays a very important role to bring an engagement with our community. Another quite a different experience or different use case is basically about precision agriculture. I'm sure some of you would have heard about it. You would have read about it. This is about our what we do in our orchard in Australia. So we use we are trialing as we speak sprayers which is completely autonomous, right? So it can be completely controlled centrally on using a laptop, and a significant reduction in operational cost and improved productivity and accuracy. Very much IoT enabled. We make sure that our farms are also digitally enabled, because these are huge areas, right? So sometimes it's even difficult to have networks. So we set up our own towers and network to to connect these kind of automated machines. But what I also heard actually is that we have sensors that are deployed in these trees. Almond trees, for example, it collects important data, right? The vitals, for example, the humidity, the stress levels, and things like that. And all those things centrally connected to our edge servers, and then and completely used through reporting to making sure that actually how we can do intervention on time, what are the stress level of the trees, which area of the orchard is ready for harvesting, how can we take timely actions and things like that. Okay. So moving on, so those were really about, a couple of examples of the transformation, and I can understand you said, all the way from smart plantations where I started to factories to a couple of examples on Africa, and then also on the agronomy part, and so that's the diversity of what we handle, right? And the other area is about transparency, right? So if you look at our solutions like Olam Direct, plays a very important role. And so in the sense of reimagining the agribusiness, what it does is actually is these are mobile apps that are rolled out to countries like in Brazil, in Africa, where farmers can download this app. They can see the prices of their commodity, right? Whether it's coffee or cocoa, they can see the daily prices, and then create a selling intent directly. They can do a digital contract on the fly, payment on the fly, and complete traceability on the fly. And why we say that transparency is because this app helps direct buying from farmers, right? What you can also see in many of the farming supply chain is that there are a lot of intermediaries in between, right? There are a lot of players in between, a lot of brokers, agents, who all take a small percentage of share from the of the farmers' revenue. And in the end, we have seen many examples where farmers lose a big part of their yield or revenue, basically, due to the players. What this app does is basically directly engage with the farmer, right? So the farmer gets the best of price because we put those prices on our website, on the app, so they can directly see what is the cost of their yield. We have a contract on the fly and then complete payment on the fly. So they have access to information, they have access to the market, and of course access to resources as well, because we also provide information on weather information and other information as well. That really helps. So it has been a disruptive solution if you really look at, and that has really a disintermediation platform that we call it, and really made a big impact in countries like in Africa. 2 years back we launched this solution, and made a big impact on the market. This was for coffee for our Brazil business. I think moving on, I have a very interesting video on how the Olam Direct works on the ground, and let me think you'll be able to.
Olam Direct is a platform which is powered by a series of apps, a portal, and an analytics dashboard which collectively connect us directly with farmers.
Bekerja dengan Olam selama 2 tahun terakhir telah mengubah cara saya berkebun. Semenjak saya menggunakan aplikasi, volume kakao dan pendapatan saya meningkat. Dengan itu, saya dapat membeli motor dan saya jadi memiliki banyak waktu untuk melakukan aktivitas lain di rumah.
Farmers have remained loyal and engaged due to the transparency and increased interactions this platform has delivered. Olam Direct also helps us to collaborate better with rural micro-entrepreneurs. Through technology, we offer digital and financial inclusion to rural communities around the world.
Setiap hari saya melihat daftar petani untuk mengembangkan kakao dan membawa ke Farmer Lead. Saya dapat mendatangi sampai 5 petani dalam sehari. Saya melakukan pengetesan kualitas dengan petani, kemudian konfirmasi harga dan memasukkan data. Jika petani selanjutnya yang saya datangi memiliki tipe biji yang sama, saya akan meletakkannya bersama kakao yang ada. Saya juga terkadang mengantar alat-alat pertanian seperti pupuk ke petani. Saya menerima komisi dari kegiatan ini, dan dengan pendapatan yang meningkat, inti saya dapat membuka bisnis dan membuka warung.
Each transaction is geotagged and timestamped so we can trace lots back to the farmer and manage the consistency of our product. We can also share this sourcing information with our customers, offering them a unique value proposition of traceability with transparency.
Dengan adanya sistem baru, saya dapat mengerjakan segalanya dengan cara digital. Dengan waktu yang dapat dipersingkat, saya memiliki waktu untuk melakukan pelatihan terhadap petani dan membangun relasi dengan micro collector. Saya bekerja dengan lebih dari 40 mikrokolektor yang berasal dari 6 desa. Saya melakukan pengecekan kualitas dan kuantitas. Kemudian, saya melakukan konfirmasi harga ke mikrokolektor. Setelah itu, saya meletakkan label ke setiap karung. Dan ketika sudah cukup untuk dibawa, saya akan berkoordinasi dengan supir truk Olam untuk membawa kakao.
This solution creates incremental margins by removing speculation, incentivizing micro-entrepreneurs, enhancing the quality of the source product, and through cost-efficient sourcing. We have also seen improved price risk management across the supply chain.
Dengan keseluruhan proses yang lebih baik, menjadikan kami lebih mudah untuk bekerja dengan lebih banyak supplier dan dapat meningkatkan jumlah kakao yang datang ke warehouse sebanyak 20%. Kami bisa memperkirakan berapa banyak barang yang akan datang ke gudang berdasarkan input dari petani dan mikrokolektor. Sekarang, saya dapat menerima data langsung secara digital, dan saya tidak perlu menghabiskan waktu untuk input data secara manual.
As we continue to reimagine our supply chains, our long-term goal is to have a global, configurable solution which is integrated with at source. Olam Direct, delivering value for all.
Okay, I think I was explaining about Olam Direct, and I think that video really summarizes the impact that it creates on the ground, right? So whether a farmer can directly transact with us, and there are of course micro collectors and the people who are collecting the as local buying agents and things, basically collecting our yields. But the point is that we have a clear each of the farmer gets best of the value from the company, right? So that's the whole disruptive change that we have brought, basically bringing a lot of transparency in this whole supply chain. Moving on the traceability part, very important. Another important solution that we did was called Olam Farm Information System. It's basically about pioneering digital solution with rich information about smallholding farmers, and it really captures about social information of farming community, and that helps basically, if you look at the farm information, the geolocation, geotag, for example, the farm polygons, the size of their farms, and who are our farmers, right? So and why we do it, because we want to identify our suppliers as a farmer, but also more importantly to see that we devise farmer development plans and things like that, which we run on this platform to make a segmentation of our farmers to see how we can make an impact on farmer development sustainably, right? So if you look at a farmer development program that we run, let's say in a 6 months time, we want to see how that particular farmer community, which is within the country of Ghana, for example, or Ivory Coast, for example, how their life has improved in 6 months time, how it got changed in two years time, and how it has been transforming in 3 years time. So basically a huge database of farmer information, but really geotagged and with polygons and things, but really helping to bring the tailor the impactful sustainable initiatives and really enhancing the farmer livelihood. So on the ground, if you look at many sustainability source or many of the labels that you see in products like this platform for us in Olam helps to segment the farmers and to make sure that sustainably we are improving the farmer livelihood. And quite powerful, as we see, it's not just about one-time impact, right? We also make sure that we are able to go back and for example, if it's about organic farming or using the best way of training, for example, the best way of agriculture using modern technologies and things like that, we use these information through this platform segmentation, and then really focusing on the segment of farmers to see how we can improve their life long term. Okay. Moving on, another traceability solution is actually about we call a product called digital supplier engagement. very much like, the cooperatives or, the milk cooperative that you have seen in India, right? So we have a kiosk or a small shop setup solution that this solution is used in those kind of setup where typically there is a local buying agent, and then they have a set of farmers around and they collect their yield, right? Whether it's cocoa or coffee. And then we use this platform to digitize the whole procurement, all the way from farmer till the Olam gate, right? And then when we say traceability, it has a QR code. So we connect, we engage, all our products with the QR code, so that we basically can trace all the way from farmer to to the end customer as well. So a very important part to bring the traceability impacts the complete supply chain, and really about ensuring that the procurement process is very simple and highly effective. Again, very successful product, very successful platform. We are scaling it globally, especially in Africa and Asia, and also in Latin America as well. In the video as well, you heard about the solution called @Source, and this is actually our comprehensive sustainable sourcing platform, right? So it has an integration with the solution like Office that I just mentioned earlier. It has an integration with Olam Direct, for example. So the @Source plays the the core platform for us, using data lake and other capabilities to bring all the data, including from our SAPs as well, to see that what is the sustainability footprint of the yield of the product that we source from Olam. So it actively monitors 10 core sustainable topics related to 12 SDG goals. Network of smallholding farmers owned estate and farms on 6 continents. So it's really about seeing the footprint across these 6 continents on what is the supply chain footprint. Very easy access to sustainability data. So this @Source is used by our end consumer to see that what has been the sustainability footprint of the supply chain that they have sourced through Olam. And again, bringing traceability and customer contracts, all the way from customer contracts to farm gate. We use, as I said, it has a huge, quite a lot of integration with many of our digital solutions, also with our business systems. And also we have built a data lake around it to bring that how fast we can provide all this traceability and things to our end consumer. Very much core to the sustainability initiative of what we do in Olam. So moving on. Sorry. So just a sec. So. Yeah. So moving on, actually, these are all the traceability initiatives. Again, coming back to the 3 T's, right? Transformation, transparency, and traceability. I just wanted to know, I understand that many of you are from the analytics domain. So I just wanted to give a glimpse of, what we do in the analytics and AI domain, right? So we have an, advanced analytics and the AI team. We look at use best of the cloud engines and AI engine all across. We do quite a lot of operation optimization, whether it is in the factory optimization, whether it's in the logistics optimization, whether it is in the inventory optimization. We use many algorithms and engines, proprietary as well as using cloud services, to see how we can bring best of forecasting and things like that. Similarly, for behavioral analytics, it is about customer analytics, for example, sales and customer analytics, very important for us, connecting again different source of data, relationship management, and also looking at the risk model that we take, because trading also is a very important part for us. And so we look at using a different level of behavioral analytics and analytics methodologies to see what's the risk and things that we carry. Another important example is actually on image analytics. I have a slide on this, on image analytics, what we do on the ground, but very much focusing on satellite image analytics, drone analytics. We have also created, AI algorithm to identify the cocoa pods, right? Coffee pods, for example. What is the quality of our pods? 98% good quality, or to see basically, so really looking at the parts using a mobile app to see how how the images can be processed. Same thing, we have used the engine to see the disease monitoring. For example, on a plant, we have written an AI engine to see that if you look at show the algorithm or the image on an app, it can determine the diseases and things like that. I'm sure some of these things you have seen on some of the apps as well. We have an app called Agri Central, by the way, which has been launched, which was launched for our farmers in India, only for as a dedicated farmer services platform. Agri Central, you can download it in the Play Store or in Android as well, and it has many of these features that I just mentioned as well. Another area is forecasting, right? Whether it's about currency forecasting, whether it's a demand forecasting and things like that. And another important part is text analytics, right? So whether it's in the news media and areas, whether it's about supplier risk assessment, we use text analytics, and of course the web analytics plays a very important role for us. I mentioned about example of image analytics, and this is one example. Satellite and drone image analytics combined with local weather conditions, that brings a lot of powerful insight to our operations, across globe. For example, what I understand is, I don't know how many of you heard about a country called Gabon. We have a huge plantations there, thousands of acres basically, and it's very difficult to manage it, through the traditional or normal way of going. So what we do is, we use drones, basically sent across our plantations, collect the data, and they upload it from Gabon, which is in Africa, to our cloud. We use AI engines to run those images and to see that basically, what are the yield. For example, that's one of the image that is there. It says green palm, yellow palm, for example, right? So where within the farm, where are the yields getting ready to cultivate, for example. So basically, it helps to see that on the ground, where is it ready for the yield, for example. Same thing, if there are any diseases or something getting monitored or to be seen, we see the information through the AI, and then what we do is basically give back the geo coordinates back to the people, our staff in the plantations with the geo coordinates, so that they can go to that particular location and see what is the diseases being reported. Same thing, I understand there will be sometimes intrusions that happens, or the elephant intrusions and things. So we are able to give all those information sitting out in Chennai, and basically giving the geo coordinates and things basically to the team in Africa, and so that they can do on the ground actions with these geo coordinates, and they can intervene on the ground. We also have created remote assessment of soil moisture and salinity, for example. Again, NDVI, for example, is another remote monitoring of crop health, and also on the really about cost effectiveness, right? So huge area that we want to manage through these advanced technologies. I think that brings the the slide almost end of my presentation. I would open the floor for any questions, any comments. I would like to hear from you, basically.
Hi, sir. I am personally very impressed by the services that Olam is providing, and these are some of the services I've only dreamed of, bringing farmers and users together. But this is great work, and I personally had some doubts regarding what the company is about.
Okay.
So for the first one is regarding the supply chain and delivery. Is Olam directly part of the supply chain where it's delivering the goods to the users, or it's just part of the farming part and it outsources the supply chain?
No, so what we do, good question, thanks for that. So basically, we source from our 5 million plus farmers, and then what we do is we have, as I said, warehouses, and primary warehouse, secondary warehouses. We also have manufacturing plants, for example, where we do the processing, and then processed. For example, if you look at cashew, or cocoa, for example, right? We process that into cashew cocoa cakes or liquor and butter and things like that. So these are the products of what, when you process it, cocoa you get, and basically those products are being shipped to top brands. So if you look at, for example, Nestle or Mondelez and things like that. So basically, what we are doing, we are the brand behind the brand, right? So all these ingredients be due to the top brands that they basically further produce that into an end consumer chocolates or whatever it is. Same thing on cashew, for example. So basically all the way from sourcing to cleaning it, clearing the shells and things, and then packaging it, and then also at different grades, right? So we make sure that it's all graded and then really shipped to the end consumer. And sometimes also we are private label business, so we are also selling it to, let's say, for example, Walmart or Costco. And what I understand, for example, the Good Day biscuit that you have here, the cashew that you have mostly comes out of Olam as well. So that's a level of you don't see Olam as an end consumer brand, but we are there in many of the brands that you consume almost every week.
So in terms of delivering, it's primarily a B2B company.
B2B, you're right, correct.
Okay.
We do have a B2C brand, which is actually in Singapore, which has been, RE, which is an, RE as a brand, and very focused on sustainability. So all the way from the covers and packages that we use to the end product, organic, very sustainably sourced, so that is in a B2C brand that we have. Same thing, we have a couple of B2C brands in Africa as well, more into biscuits and breads and things like that, basically. Tomato paste, for example, yeah.
Okay, and in terms of adaptability of the farmers, I'm sure it was very tough for them to adapt to a new system where everything they were good at is now part of Olam, and they're giving a better forecasting and better optimization of process, and they're just giving instructions to the farmers. But I'm sure it was tough for the farmers to adapt to a new role. How was that transition?
So interesting question actually, right? So basically, if you look at farmers are also getting more into smartphones and things like that. But also, of course, there are traditional farmers as well. But as a brand, what we have done in many areas or where we operate, typically, many of our commodities are very seasonal, right? So, for example, cashew, that happens during a season, let's say 3 months or 4 months, for example. So many people or buyers go to that area and then just buy, and then after the season, they just leave the place. Whereas we, as an organization, making sure that we are on the ground. We have offices on the ground and we are operating throughout the year, and also making sure that not only during that season, we are also able to train the farmers, right, about the best way of cultivation, using organic farming and different methods of training and things like that. So we do that on the ground. Also, as part of the training, if you are really looking at adoption as well, or to the farmers, whether they have their own smart farms or things where we need to provide phones or devices, that also we have done, but mostly it's about we also have farmer leads, for example, so person who are connected with around 50 farmers, and we train them actually to making sure that so that they can also train their farmers in the local language to see how to use it, and also how to stay connected to the brand, as well as to the overall features that we provide in the app as well. So we put a lot of effort in training. And I also, I had an opportunity to go to Africa in June this year, and it was great to see that on the ground in the farm, it was in Ghana, and farmers actually having apps, mobile apps and things. So I asked, what's an app that you use mostly? So the first answer was WhatsApp. Some of them said, the second question is about Facebook as well. And I also asked actually, okay, what do you like in Olam Direct? That was the farmers that they use. And the simple answer that they told is, I was expecting that, okay, they like the best of features and things like that. But the simple answer that they told is basically the price that you show on the app, with an Olam logo in it, because that shows the transparency, that shows that they are just getting the best value, from the market, basically. So we put a lot of effort, and it's not an easy thing. But what I see is also that there's a huge adoption of new technologies and mobile apps and things, and that makes it much more easier for us to penetrate.
Okay, so Olam is primarily focusing on providing the services and teaching them how to use them, but it's up to the farmers what they take up and what they're trying to do with the farm.
That's true. I mean, it's not like we don't have any, direct contract with farmers and things. It's mostly, they are free to, sell to other suppliers as well. Absolutely, yes.
Okay, and in terms of transparency, until what limit are the businesses getting in terms of what they're buying? I mean, is it limited to the quality, or what all information are they gaining about the food that they're buying?
So it's not one is about quality, right? But also transparency at all levels, because if you really look at some of the chocolates that you are already having, you can see that it's written sustainably sourced, or it's written that it has been coming from this particular community or this particular country, for example. So there is a lot of awareness that has come, especially with the new millennials and Gen Zs as well, or and people are generally aware of what sustainability, sourcing, and things like that. So that's one part, and there's also another aspect to it. It's also a regulatory aspect, right? Because countries also making sure that from where are these sourcing, who are these suppliers, from where are these food things coming, basically. So it's not just about quality, and quality also at a different levels, right? So for example, I just mentioned about cashew kernels, what's the size and things. And what I understood is, taste need to be consistent, right? The color need to be consistent, the smell need to be consistent. And those kind of things are also subtle things that many times we just don't see it. But if you really want to supply to best of the brands globally, these are things that we provide and throughout the year, right? So how to make it consistent, how to bring that consistency across the value chain, and is what we really tailor for.
So it's actually a win-win situation for both the farmers and the business.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think that traceability is something that we have invested in many of the solutions that we clearly saying traceability, and I'm pretty sure you heard multiple times as well. But we put that effort in, and we believe that bringing traceability brings a lot of power to everyone in the value chain, basically, all the way from farmers to the end consumer to the people who are in the value chain, including us.
So the most important question I had was, if not, I think this is right now mostly important in India more than ever before. So why not India right now?
Good question, Uday, actually. So I think in India also, we are doing some of these solutions are running in India, especially for coffee, especially for spices, coffee in Karnataka area, for example, spices in Andhra, and other areas as well. So we are doing it, and some differences that we see is basically the commodities that we are in, it's not much there in India. But more important, one challenge or one part that you see is in India, it's very much smallholding farmers, right? Very fragmented farming. You will hear that, and this has been a challenge in India as well. So many of the things to deploy takes time, and with the geographic conditions and things. Whereas if it's a much more bigger farm and things, many of the agriculture, advanced technologies can be adopted much more faster.
Yeah, it sounds a lot more tougher to adopt, but I'm sure it's a much bigger market too.
Yeah, and I mentioned about Agri Central app, right? So this was actually for the Indian farmers, and so it's a complete free service. We built. It has been downloaded more than 8 million plus, almost 1.5 million plus farmers every month, and it has almost around 8+ services, all the way from market prices, mandi price, for example, support for agronomy, support, for example, the if they have any diseases, things that they need to support, they can call and we give an agronomy support. It is in almost 5-6 languages, calculating the polygons and things like that, the area of the farm. So completely free service. As I said, huge adoption. In fact, the app won an award last year from Google as one of the top app for farmers or in agri industry in India, basically.
Have you before considered a D2C model where these products can be delivered with the same transparency to customers?
Sorry, can you come back again, please?
Has the company considered a D2C model where the same products are being delivered to customers with the same transparency, which can be useful to consumers too?
We have, and one is that I know you asked for D2C, but also from a B2C perspective, we have a couple of brands where we wanted to make sure it's very transparent. But if you look at some of our customers, right? So when you also mentioned B2B, so we are into B to large business. So basically, if you look at hotels, Horeca, right? Hotel, restaurants, catering, bakery, for example. So many of those areas, and they may not be the end consumer, but if you look at restaurants and bakers and hotels, they need many of this information as well. So there we provide the complete sourcing data and things like that. So yes, to the end consumer level also we are able to provide, because let's say if it is about Mondelez or Nestle or things, using platforms like Exos, it gives a lot of insight about where the supply chain is. It's been sourced from Ghana, for example. It's been processed in, let's say, Netherlands, and then shipped to, for example, their factory in Switzerland, for example. And so this all information is already given to the supplier, and some of them it goes to the complete end consumer, but that depends on the brand also to decide, basically.
And there are some questions from other students. I will read them.
Okay.
Aryaman Chowdhury is asking, how do you get permission to access the satellite images?
Interesting. Okay. So there are few, we source it from the paid, images, basically, right? Mostly we take it as a service from paid satellite image providers. What I understand is there are also, free images available as well. But to get the best of precision and all, we have partnered with the satellite image providers. In the use case that I mentioned in Gabon, we are using drone images, and the drones are from our own plantation. So we manage the drones, we take the pictures in that sense to the cloud, and we use I think in that example we are actually using Google engine to process the images and to see all those details that we can provide to the people on the ground in Africa, so sitting out in India, basically. So these images are available, but mostly we are sourcing it from the satellite image providers.
And the insights from these images are directly contacted to the farmer.
No, in that case, the example that I mentioned, it is directly given to the plantation team who is sitting in Gabon. So they get a clear map on the geo coordinates, for example, on okay, this is where we see that there seems to be a certain diseases getting reported, or maybe this seems to be there's a different color that we see. Maybe you need to look at what is happening in that area, or this is where the yield is getting ready in the color is changing. Maybe that's the area where it is ready in next 2 weeks time, for example, or 2 months time, for example.
Okay. Harishankar Meena is asking, in which country do you see the most growth due to using your technology, and where does India stand in this list?
Okay. To be honest, I don't have an answer to that direct question. But if you're really asking, about what has been our experience, right? If you look at within from an Olam perspective, we have huge operations in Africa and then Latin America and Asia. Okay, so Africa is little bit behind in the adoption. Of course, with the infrastructure catching up now, they're also very, very, very fast coming in. But in other countries, and especially in Latin America, Brazil, for example, huge adoption actually, and completely disruptive way of usage of solutions. The same thing in many parts of Asia as well. And if you really look at India as well, you see, smartphones and adoptions and things are getting very popular. So we are able to, impact on the ground in these countries as well. And of course, in all the developed countries, we have operations, right? I mentioned about the almonds farm. In Australia, same thing. We have an almond orchard in California as well. We have spices in US, for example. There is, of course, as in a developed country, you see a lot of adoption. But yeah, so I would say more Latin, Asia, and then Africa catching up.
Harishankar Meena is also asking, sir, any provision for internships for us? What would be the criteria?
You can contact our HR. Of course, we do have internship opportunities, and we look for not a short term, like 1 month, 2 months or something, at least, beyond that. But definitely a lot of opportunities. And, as I mentioned, I'm pretty sure that these are all new areas that you also heard as well. And analytics plays a very important role, or the whole technology plays a very important role. So we do have these programs. Do connect with us. You can connect with me as well, shanoj.chandro@olamnet.com, or you can maybe I'll connect with your whoever is the team on the ground to give my coordinates or my HR team coordinates, and absolutely willing to see how we can look at it.
Sure. Okay. Ashu is asking, will India-Australia free trade agreement help tech adoption in agribusiness in India?
Free trade agreement could be, yes. I am not aware of this, that topic, but so I think another maybe a little different aspect to this, right? Basically, what you see at a government level, there are, of course, huge, programs being initiated. Food security has become a clear challenge. Many countries have identified food stability, food security as a key topic, especially during COVID time as well. And so we are seeing that much more countries are, much more aware. They are engaged with us also as in Olam Group to invest, and also basically to making sure that they are getting support to make their food system resilient, and and also support with their food security basically.
Narada Priya Das is asking, sir, has a feasibility study been done to see if the same technology can be implemented for food grain cultivation? Can you share some of the possibilities in that sector?
Which cultivation?
Food grain cultivation.
Food grains, right?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, many of these examples, we also have grain operations, I said, globally as well. It is running, it is working. I also have to say, we did some pilot for a rice, using, I believe your question could be about analytics. So we had certain challenge in one of the use case, that came across around 3-4 months back. On a rice plantation or farms that we had. We ran some pilot. It was very interesting because the local weather was different, something got impacted, and then I think the angle at which that we were collecting the images versus what happened on the ground was little different. So we were not getting the right image or the right data. There was one discussion that I had with my team, I remember. But other than that, in grains, if you look at many of these things can be adopted, and we are doing it also, but not like, for example, in grains you don't have an IoT sensors and things, right? For example, we do it in almonds and orchard and things, but some of the things makes it not viable in from the scale perspective. But we always look at actually, for example, the Olam Direct platform that I mentioned, is used for rice community and things, farmers, for example. So we see opportunities to scale.
Yuvraj Manish is asking, advisory farmers are generally given free of cost by advisory. Any case studies in the following?
Advisory free of cost?
Yeah, I think
it connects to the Agri Central platform that I mentioned,
yes,
right?
Sir.
Basically, we have an agronomy team, as I said, it's a completely free platform. We have an agronomy team sitting in Bangalore who is supporting farmers. They can pose their questions, they can send the images of the diseases that they see, and then and the app itself is trying to see whether it can predict and detect the disease and give the right information. And if they need more information, they're able to reach out to agronomy team as well.
Ravikant is asking, sir, what would you say about climate change affecting food production?
What would I say? I think
about
yeah. So I mean, you see it, all across, right? If you just look at every year, the cyclones and things that are coming in, the devastating challenges that we are all facing. There are many examples globally, and this is not just for India as well, right? So there is a clear impact. Global warming is creating a lot of impact. I'm pretty sure you are reading newspapers and you can see many of those impacts creating, and that's also creating impact on the agri food and supply chain as well, basically. So it is real, and we are seeing it, that each temperature goes up and down, or all those rains which we cannot predict is clearly creating a lot of challenge. I remember, I think one of the cases in coffee, for example, someone was saying that last year, and not this year, so the 1 year before, they had a lot of frost or something in I think it was in Brazil, and though the yield was okay in that year, but because of that frost and things that was happening in the last year, the next year yield got changed basically. So these are all changes that we are seeing in the already. And so so there are a lot of videos, articles around this whole thing. So please take a look. But this is we are seeing the impact.
We're running. I think you have other things to do. I'll just stick to last two questions.
Okay.
Dinesh Kumar is asking, I'm interested to work in agri sector as a data scientist. What are my possible opportunities?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are a lot of opportunities, Dinesh. And thanks for that question. And we ourselves have a data analytics team. As I mentioned, and many of the examples what I said is actually about digitizing farm, making operations digitized and things like that, which is true, right? Because the first part of that whole thing is actually about connecting to the farmers, in the last mile connectivity and whatever, the smallholding farmers and things like that. But many of this solution in the end brings a lot of data, right? Where we look at our maturity now is, many of these platforms are stable. We are making best use of the platforms and data and everything. But my business stakeholders are all asking now, okay, fine, it's all operations are all managed well, supply chain is handled well, but we have a wealth of data. What next? And that what next questions from many of the data scientists and data analytics that is there. So as we speak, we are also transforming, the complete data analytics, area. Also, we are transforming with the new platforms and things using cloud services and all, and to see the, what is it that we can also use the AI and, analytics and AI engines, and basically to see forecast, predict, and things like that. So huge opportunity. The initial part was about collecting data and things. Now we have a huge wealth of data all the way from SAP and other business systems. And combined with all this data, we want to give the insights to the end consumer, to the end farmer, and that's to bring that the transparency as well. So I think, and that's what we are aiming for. And if you really look at our roadmap for next year as well, data insights plays a very important role because we want to bring this transparency and insights to the end consumer, to the end farmer and community, because that's how we all will thrive.
One last question, sir. What are your views, and is there any advice you would give to agri-tech startups in India?
My views on agri-tech startups in India. I mean, absolutely, a lot of opportunity, team. I think, technology, you can see it also, by the way, there are a lot of startups coming up as well. There's all across food and agri industry, right? So you can just take a look as well. Some of the questions that you mentioned, why some of the things are not there in India. I mean, maybe these are all, I think I see those as an opportunity for us, basically. And so the infrastructure is moving. We have 5G rolled out in India. And so many areas are evolving as well. And I think that's all bringing a lot of opportunity to, in this space, basically.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for your time, sir. I'm sure it helped a lot of us. I'm personally, this was one of the meets that I was excited about the company. And thank you for your time.
Thanks, Uday. Thanks to IIT Madras and the rest of the community as well. I think it has been a great. I'm pretty sure that you got something new out of my session, and as Olam as a brand as well. And do reach out to my HR team or to me directly as well, and really see how we can not only for Olam, right, in this whole space, how you all can contribute. There's immense opportunity. And looking forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.